The static clawed at the edges of my sanity. For weeks, the radio had been my lifeline in the desolate wasteland of what was once West Virginia. Now, it was a harbinger of doom. One moment, I'd be listening to the automated ramblings of a pre-war radio host, the next, a screeching wall of noise would obliterate the signal, leaving my ears ringing and my heart pounding. I knew what it was, or at least, I had a terrifyingly clear picture forming in my mind. The whispers on the wind, the panicked warnings from other struggling settlements, they all pointed to the same impossible phenomenon, an electric tornado. The electric tornado mod. I'd downloaded it, of course, like any other wasteland wanderer looking to spice up their life, a little extra challenge, amidst the ghouls and super mutants. I'd read the description, something about the already crumbling power substations finally giving way, unleashing raw, chaotic energy into the atmosphere. This energy, saturated with the lingering radiation of the bombs, wouldn't just dissipate. It would coalesce, drawn to the iron-rich veins that lace the earth, forming a supercharged vortex of destruction. Now, it was more than just a mod description. It was reality. And based on the radio disruptions, it was heading my way. My current base, a rickety shack built into the side of a cliff overlooking the Ohio River, was not going to cut it. Good vantage point, yes, but structurally sound? Absolutely not. One brush with this thing, and I'd be atomized. I needed a plan, and fast. I needed a new base, a reliable source of water and food, and most importantly, a way to deter the tornado. Repelling it completely might be impossible, but if I could divert its path, even slightly, I might stand a chance. I started by packing what I could: my trusty 10mm pistol, a modded hunting rifle, a handful of stimpaks, and the vital components for my portable generator. My faithful companion, Dogmeat, whined nervously at my feet, sensing the urgency in my movements. "Come on, boy," I said, scratching him behind the ears. "We've got a lot of ground to cover." Our first priority was water. The Ohio River was nearby, but relying solely on it was risky. It was contaminated, teeming with mutated creatures, and easily accessible to raiders. I needed an alternative. My thoughts turned to the Green Brier, a pre-war resort nestled in the mountains to the east. Rumor had it, they had a natural spring within their heavily fortified walls. If I could secure access, that would solve one major problem. After a grueling trek through scorched forests and dilapidated towns, dodging packs of feral ghouls and cautiously navigating minefields, we finally reached the Green Brier. The place was a fortress, surrounded by thick concrete walls and guarded by heavily armed robots. I managed to convince one of the robotic sentries, after a nerve-wracking speech check, to grant me an audience with the Overseer, a surprisingly well-preserved pre-war personality matrix that controlled the resort. The Overseer was eccentric, to say the least. He spoke in outdated business jargon, and seemed more concerned with maintaining the Green Brier's image than with the survival of the wasteland. He agreed to allow me access to the spring in exchange for a favor: help clear out a horde of super mutants that had infested the nearby golf course. It was a dangerous proposition, but I had little choice. I agreed, and with dog meat by my side, I ventured into the mutated green. The golf course was a nightmare. Hulking super mutants, armed with makeshift weapons and fueled by rage, roamed the fairways. The stench of decay hung heavy in the air. It was a brutal, chaotic fight, but with a combination of skill, luck, and a healthy dose of stimpaks, we managed to clear the area. The overseer, true to his word, granted me access to the spring. The water was clean, pure, and plentiful. It was a major victory. Now, the base. The Green Briere was tempting, but reliant on pre-war technology that could fail at any moment. I needed something more sustainable, more defensible, and preferably closer to the iron veins that would attract the tornado. I had heard whispers of a secluded location, deep within the mountains, Seneca Rocks. A natural fortress of towering stone cliffs, the area was said to be rich in mineral deposits and relatively untouched by the war. The journey to Seneca Rocks was treacherous, even more so than the Green Briere. The mountains were infested with mutated wildlife, packs of rabid wolves, giant scorpions, and worse. The terrain was unforgiving, and the constant threat of falling was a constant companion. But when we finally reached Seneca Rocks, it was breathtaking. The sheer scale of the cliffs was awe-inspiring. The area was relatively untouched, with pockets of vegetation clinging to the rocky slopes. And, most importantly, I could feel the subtle pull of the iron ore beneath my feet. I spent days exploring the area, searching for the perfect location for my base. I eventually found it, a small, secluded plateau nestled between two towering cliffs. It offered excellent natural protection, a clear view of the surrounding landscape, and access to a small stream fed by melting snow. Building the base was a slow, arduous process. I scavenged scrap metal from abandoned settlements, salvaged lumber from fallen trees, and slowly, painstakingly, crafted a defensible structure. I built walls, reinforced with scavenged tires, a generator-powered lighting system, and makeshift turrets fashioned from salvaged machine guns. Now came the most challenging part, figuring out how to deter the electric tornado. I knew I couldn't stop it completely, but I hoped to influence its path. The answer, I realized, lay in understanding the tornado's behavior. It followed iron veins, drawn to the magnetic pull of the metal. If I could create a stronger magnetic field elsewhere, perhaps I could divert its course. The solution was insane, borderline suicidal, but it was the only one I could think of. I would create a massive electromagnetic field using salvaged car batteries, wires, and a powerful pre-war transformer I had found in a ruined power plant. The risk was immense. The electromagnetic field would be dangerous, potentially frying anything caught within its radius, including myself and dog meat. But if it worked, it could be the difference between survival and oblivion. I set about gathering the necessary components. Car batteries were scattered throughout the wasteland, abandoned in rusted wrecks. Wires could be salvaged from damaged buildings and electronic components. The transformer, however, was the key. It was a heavy, cumbersome piece of technology, and transporting it to Seneca Rocks was a grueling task. Days turned into nights as I worked tirelessly, driven by a mixture of desperation and determination. I connected the batteries, strung the wires, and carefully positioned the transformer on a high point overlooking the iron vein. As I powered up the system, the air crackled with electricity. The ground vibrated beneath my feet. A low hum filled the air, growing louder and louder as the electromagnetic field intensified. The radio crackled to life, even worse than before. This time, it wasn't just static. It was a symphony of distorted screams, metallic grinding, and the unmistakable sound of tearing metal. The electric tornado was coming. I watched, paralyzed with fear, as the horizon darkened. A swirling vortex of energy, metal, and debris descended upon the valley. The air was thick with the smell of ozone. The tornado approached, a roaring, crackling monster. It lumbered across the landscape, uprooting trees, crushing buildings, and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Then, it reached the iron vein. It slowed, hesitated, as if confused. The electromagnetic field was working. It pulsed with raw energy, pulling at the tornado's magnetic core. For a terrifying moment, it seemed the two forces would collide, annihilating everything in their path. But then, slowly, agonizingly, the tornado began to veer off course. It scraped against the edges of my electromagnetic field, sending sparks flying and causing the ground to tremble. But it didn't stop. It continued to move, diverted away from my base, away from the iron vein, towards the open wasteland. With a final roar, the electric tornado vanished over the horizon, leaving behind a trail of destruction, and a profound sense of relief. I collapsed to the ground, exhausted and trembling. Dogmeat nudged my hand, licking my face. We had survived. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The wasteland was still a dangerous place, and the electric tornado could return at any moment. But for now, I had a base, a source of water, and a glimmer of hope. I had faced the impossible, and survived. And in the wasteland, that was a victory worth celebrating. The radio, still crackling, began to play a pre-war song, a hopeful melody that echoed through the desolate valley. I smiled, a genuine smile that reached my eyes. We were alive. And that was enough.